Well, that is the first error of this live stream, and that was apparently my mic became unplugged, but apparently now it's plugged back in, so I'm very happy about that. Anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. Some go to church, some sleep in, but you beautiful people, you all came here. You made the right choice. I want to say a huge moistened thigh of a welcome to everyone watching right now, to everyone watching in just a minute, to everyone listening or watching after the fact, and even in a small but dismissive way to all the people who don't even know that I exist, and maybe some of the ones that know I exist but don't really care this early on a Sunday morning.
You are so British.
I am yeast fanatics, or as Weasties as we call them, all the bread lovers or yeasties, all the people who routinely come last or leasties, all enjoyers of white hip hop or beasties, all people mad for Herschel Gordon Lewis or feasties, and all the people who for no apparent reason woke up this morning wearing nothing but a raincoat, hair smudged slightly in pudding, and surrounded by childishly doctored photos of Valery Petrov, renowned Bulgarian poet. All are welcome here. This is the inaugural sale of the good ship Crosstalk 2020, which is what I thought the show might be called if it was an Italian Grindhouse post-apocalyptic movie from the 70s, maybe with the addition of the word Bronx in the title. The last season of this show ran in mid-year 2014, which, while only 6 years ago, considering everything that's happened in the world in 6 years, sounds the same as saying 1994. Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2 had 6 years between their release dates, so I feel like I'm in strong company. Anyway, the guest on this first show is, well, I hasten to call him merely a man. He is a gent of the highest order, an actor, voiceover artist, comedian, writer, teacher, performer, Renaissance man, by which I mean he likes paintings of nude, curvaceous females, and was once called a raconteur despite knowing very little about tennis. He's rubbed shoulders with the likes of Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt, but never in a creepy Joe Biden way, and some call him Skybite, others call him Orville, his friends call him regularly. He's the one, he's the only, he's Mr. Peter Spellos.
What's fascinating is you actually can talk more than I can, which is if people who know me, that would blow it away. John, how are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. Although it seems like, can you hear me? You can hear me all right? It seems like the mic and headphones and everything have become messed up. That's absolutely fine. I'm just going to do this, and then hopefully I can hear you better. But yes, it is a fantastic day to have you on the show, sir. By
the way, you are amazingly British. Just not only in writing, but in this, I closed my eyes and I went, there's a John Cleese tone to his voice. And I think it was one of the reasons why we hit at the very beginning, because, is it Anglophile? Is that what one would call a lover of all things Brit?
Anglophile is the term, sir, yes.
So, you and I hit it off from the beginning, and it's very interesting now we're on lockdown, as opposed to having our first conversation live at a diner over breakfast, which was fabulous.
It was, yes. We've done a diner breakfast. We've done a British roast. I feel like all we need to do now, Pete, is cake and tea. That's really where we need to go next.
I'm having a moment over the rhubarb crumble, so I'm just okay.
Yes, that rhubarb crumble was fantastic. A shout out to Churchill's Tavern in Midtown for the
extra Yorkshires. We had extra Yorkshires that night too.
And well, it's because you sweet talked the owner of the pub. That's what it was, Pete.
Well, I have a thing for Brit girls, as we know. Listen, the first big shout out to lovely Kimberly, your wife, who I know you're listening. I'm beginning at what my friend Maggie calls my vagrant beard.
We love it.
Slowly becoming frightening.
I trimmed my vagrant beard down.
I know,
I kind of feel like I neutered myself, but I don't know.
If now more than ever, it's all about change, isn't it?
Well, what I thought would be hilarious would be if I neatened myself up while on quarantine, and then when I went back to work, I went back to work as the errant hobo that they know and hate.
Which I love, but I have. You got to pay me a lot to get neat. You know what I mean? It's otherwise, it's chef pants and Crocs is my.
Well, I feel honored that when we first met, you had your periodic table of elements that spelt out bacon, which I thought was very apt.
How is your dog, by the way?
Our dog is wonderful. She's lovely. She's a senior lady, and occasionally senior ladies have...
Named Bacon, of course, for the fans who don't know.
Yes, exactly. Named Bacon. A senior lady. So she occasionally has the odd senior moment, as they say. But outside of that...
Hey, I'm 66. I understand. I sympathize with that woman.
No, but she's glorious. She's the best dog in the world. Kim is on the message boards right now, sending love and hugs to you, Peter.
Kim, we love Kimberly. Love.
Kimberly is fantastic.
When I look up good relationships in the great book of everything, it's the two of you. Really is. So.
Well, we try, Peter. I think it was one of those things that, despite maybe still being fairly spry of age, we had those experiences that made us realize what we didn't want, and I think that's almost as important as what you do want in a way.
Isn't that what aging is about? And you really learn, you become who you really are, and you don't. Can I say shit on this podcast?
You can say shit, fuck, cunt, bugger, bollocks, tits, whatever you want to say.
Oh, you just opened Pandora's box. But
I believe the hip kids in the UK are now saying clunge. I believe that.
I've heard that word, and it has a certain moistness to it that's frightening.
Yeah.
It has an onomatopoetic thing that only you folks can come. Why I love you guys, and I have no idea what we were talking about 9 seconds ago, is language.
Yes.
Even to this day, I subscribe to Cleese on Twitter. Yeah. And just even in the language, you know someone so well, you hear the voice, you hear it. So here's to you folks and all my Brit friends listening in this morning.
Yes, both Pete and I are drinking Yorkshire Gold. Shout out to our friends at Yorkshire Gold in our mugs. My mug has a Musquamacut Beach, Rhode Island crab on it.
And mine, if you need to know my politics, there we are, right there.
A nice John Oliver mug, which I'm very happy about, Peter. It's wonderful. Yes, in terms of language, so this is the trade-off, right? So American accents can do the New York thing, the whatever, forget about it, bada bing, blah da 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 da. They can make things sound cool. British people cannot make things sound cool.
I totally disagree.
But we swear well. We swear very well.
Swear very well. But Kate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch, you have your accents too. My friends up in Newcastle do not sound like my friends, in the Midlands, and certainly don't sound like my friends in South London.
I don't even know how you understand the ones in Newcastle, because even I have trouble a lot of the time.
First of all, Leanne and David and Cosmo Girl. I've called Gracie that for years. I love you. I miss you. No, Newcastle is great. And
it is.
See, as you get closer to Scotland, the attitude is more like New Yorkers.
Yes.
And again, a shout out to Barry Shaw and Helen Clayton, who are on the front lines with the NHS, fighting the great fight for all of us. I love you guys. I'll tell you something, John. I'm busier now than if this thing was not happening.
Right.
Because I've been quarantined alone for, I think I figured it out, 50 of the last 54 days. And I mean, alone, aside from the show in my head most of the time.
Oh, yes, I'm with you, sir.
But first of all, my students came to my aid when I had to cancel my classes in Indy for April and in May. They all crowdfunded me is the only way to say it, and then have all been I just twisted it all around. I said, well, let's do this online. So I've taught already a dozen one-on-one acting classes. I taught a woman I've known for years on public speaking. I coached her 12-year-old who wanted to be a voiceover actress. We do a Saturday improv class online with a dozen people every 3 or 4 weeks. And then, because that's how they're supporting me, and I figured, well, how can I give back? So we started our Sunday night chat at 7, which I call social undistancing. It's an open forum, BYO. It can go anywhere, just like we were hanging out at the bar. And then Friday nights, which was like 2 nights ago, I think it was, because I have no idea what day it is. I started a play reading series. Now, this is not for the public. This is for my students, former and present, just to keep working.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for you and I to keep talking because it's hard for people to shut us up, to be honest, you know.
Well,
but
indeed, yes.
It's my gift to them. So we do the play reading, no coaching, you know, I try and stay away from anything, but working the muscle. And we're going to do, I have the next 2 weeks already cast. And then Tuesdays, I got a buddy, Les Eller in Indiana, with PopCon, Indie PopCon, which is my home Indiana convention. And that's where all my stuff started. We do, when I'm in Indiana, we do a Tuesday morning breakfast because it's the only time we can get together. So we both kind of said, we should just get together online and chat.
Yeah.
And then Carl Donninger is the owner of PopCon, said great. And he basically is our, you know, Gelman from Regis and Kathy Lee. He produces it and puts up the graphics. And, you know, we're supposed to talk for an hour. And of course, we talk for an hour and a half. And that's every Tuesday. So this regular thing, John, has really been saving me because I know what day it is because of what I'm doing. I teach improv. If I can't figure this shit out, then, you know, I'm not good to anybody. So I've kind of figured out how I'm going to have to exist in this, you know, new frontier as what's his name from Steely Dan used to sing about, you know, I'm old now. I don't remember the references. The New Frontier album. If anybody want to look it up and type Kim, The New Frontier. He was in Steely Dan. He's the front man. I saw him, God damn it, in concert. And it's help me, Kim. Help me.
Kim will be looking it up. Just to let you know that Les Eller has joined the chat as well and is saying greetings to us, sir.
Les Eller, Les, I just talked about you and PopCon on our Tuesday show. So Les and I, and so we're not going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about sports movies on Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
I'm a big sports fan and a big baseball fan. So I miss the Mets. I miss the hockey playoffs. You know, I miss talking. I watched the draft, the NFL draft the last 4 days because I'm an idiot.
No, I get it. So I'm a fairly big baseball fan. I'm a big hockey fan. My friend Nick from upstate now lives in New York, but he's a big Buffalo Sabres fan, but he's also a big Yankees fan. I'm a big Maple Leafs fan,
right,
and a Yankees fan. So we were missing hockey and baseball, and so we did The Rookie. We did a movie watching session with The Rookie with Dennis Quaid in it.
Right.
And then we are watching Mighty Ducks on Tuesday night. So we're doing hockey, baseball, hockey movies. Fantastic. When we can. Yeah.
Les is there, but we'll start on Tuesday. I'll start with my two favorite baseball movies, which, you know, for sad and happy, which is Field of Dreams, which is a guy chick flick, is the only way to describe that movie. If you've had dad issues, that's your movie. And Bull Durham, because it's just fucking funny. You know, it really is. You know, so Major League. No, I'm not going to start. This is our stuff. We'll talk about that.
No, there's so many you can watch that Nick and I have in the pipe. Should this go on all year?
Which is why I keep talking online, because I miss my sports. You know, part of my day would always be, all right, I'm done. The Mets are on. Good, bad, or indifferent. You know, and so we're creating what you're creating. We're creating avenues. As much for us as for the people listening, you know. Definitely. You and I miss going to the Barnes & Noble and sitting in the Starbucks and having a cup of coffee and watching people walk by and reading, you know, doing crossword puzzles. I miss that social intercourse with strangers, you know. Somebody with a name tag, I always say hello with their name, what are you doing? Ask them questions, you know. I miss that interaction. So this is the best way without being able to hug and kiss and love someone is give my students some place to talk, and because they're taking care of me with working, you know. I'm hoping to be in Indy in June with PopCon the second weekend in July and being on stage and doing all that. And, you know, for those listening, John and I are in New York. He's in New York City and I'm in White Plains. And basically that's the belly of the beast of what's going on in New York State. There's no more cases or deaths than in our two counties. New Yorkers are resilient. You know, I look on the internet with all the bad that's going on and all the political stuff. And again, my friends know where I lean, and John and I lean in the same direction. But, you know, John Krasinski doing his good news stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Taskmaster in England, and they're doing home tasks. It's basically America's Funniest Home Videos for 20 seconds. That's a ray of sunshine and laughter. And, you know, all the Broadway people and singing and doing all the stuff. For all the idiots protesting and wanting to get a haircut and then go to the beach, you know, there's people online going, I'm here, I'm a voice. We're in this and we'll get out of this. You know, my shrink used to say to me, you've gotten through tougher. You'll get through this, you know. So
yeah,
we'll all get through this.
It's interesting. I kind of tried to take stock at the beginning of all of this because obviously being an expat and having friends back in the UK, stuff like Skype and Zoom and things like that are not alien to me. So I have a certain amount of distancing from people that I love in sort of inherent in my. You'll have to apologize. Some sirens are going by in Brooklyn, New York today.
Wait. Sirens in New York City? I'm stunned.
Yeah, this is not an unusual situation in Brooklyn, New York. Sadly, we've been hearing. I mean, it's not unusual anyway, but we've been hearing sirens multiple times each day. But so I was kind of used to that anyway. I'm also you know, prone to the stresses and the neuroses that come with it, and so therefore I was definitely thinking that I was mentally prepared for all of this. So I think I'm fine. But the best thing every day, not to get a little soppy, but every day Kim and I just try and say to each other, we're lucky, we're privileged. A lot of people have it a lot worse than we do. We're not complaining. You won't hear me complain. You'll hear me complain about the idiots protesting.
Yes, we will. I love hearing you complain.
What I mean is you'll hear me complain about everything but my current situation, because I'm able to work. I'm able to FaceTime with friends. I'm able to create. Right. I'm able to be with Kim and Bacon. So I'm just exorbitantly lucky considering.
John, that's a choice. You know, the people who are whining and upset they're in the house with the families, they're choosing to be that way. I mean, this is really, and I guess it's my past coaches, this is a huge opportunity. This is the moment in the science fiction movies where they talk about a virus, an event that happened on Earth that made the whole planet come together. You know, I'm from the 60s. I'm holding off a glimmer of hope that that's going to happen. But you watch around the world and you wonder. So this is an opportunity. You know, you could not be grateful. You could choose not to be in a loving relationship with a dog you like, in a burrow you love, doing what you love. That's a choice. So choose differently, boys and girls, if you don't like the choice. That doesn't mean, you know, I want to be an astronaut tomorrow.
Yeah, no.
That means
put that dream to bed. I mean, unless you want to join Space Force, I guess. Then if you want to join Space Force, then go right ahead.
Ultimately, what it really means is put the Twinkie down and do something else. You know, I've just decided that I'm going to just put my computer in the fridge so I can just open it and it's all that I can reach everything at the same time and not go anyplace else.
No, exactly. By the way, Kim was saying, is it Donald Fagen?
Donald Fagen. Of course it's Donald Fagen. Of course it's Donald Fagen.
Yeah, so she posted that a while back when we were talking about Steely Dan.
Gin martini on me, miss, before I moved to California. Wow, that was the first move. To Indiana.
Yeah, no, exactly. So speaking of which, Pete, apart from all the teaching and stuff you're doing, what does a quarantine day in the life of Peter Spellos look like?
Well, you know, I get up, I put on a lovely summer dress with spaghetti straps. I'm sorry, I'm in a 1950s sitcom.
I'm just imagining you in a dress now, Peter. That'll keep me happy for the rest of the time.
I'll put pictures up, son. Don't you?
No,
worry.
I've seen is it Miller's that you did with Joe Piscopo? The
Light beer from Miller, and I've done performances in Vegas and shows with my old friends at Laughingstock, you know, and every comic worth his salt.
Drag in Vegas.
Monty Python, every great comic from Milton Berle on and before put on a dress and looked at the camera and went, You know what I mean? It's just, again, what was your question? I get lost when I just
Sorry,
ramble.
a quarantine day in the life of Peter Spellos.
I get up. It's kind of similar. What it would have been is packing the move to Indiana, but right now, I get up at dawn. Just, I become my grandfather. When I was in the nightclub business and doing, how do we say this? Things after hours that one does after performing in New York City late at night. Things that kept you up through the night. Am I being clear enough, kids?
No, we're understanding, folks.
It was a nighttime realm. It was, shows at 10 and 12, and you got off stage at 1:30, and you sat on the stoop and you recharged, and you went up to the diner and you had breakfast at 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I get up at dawn. It's beautiful. It's quiet. The birds are singing. There's no noise in any direction, especially now. It is apocalyptic quiet up here in White Plains. I make a cup of Yorkshire Gold. I have a little brekkie this morning. It was very white people's, avocado on English muffins with a couple of cherry tomatoes. And then I get online because, I basically at this point live in a room in a guy's apartment, on my way to Indy. And I do things for my students. I continue like you do. I'm online having conversations in the community. I'm putting up comedy or interesting stuff. I kind of am my own self-appointed town's, crier, like we all are with this stuff. So I do that, and hopefully I have students or not. I got, crossword puzzles are favorite computer baseball game that I have that I play, and read. There's not much I can do because I walk with a cane. It's hard for me to get around where I am, but I go outside when it's beautiful.
Nice.
And then hook up with my students as much as possible. Catch a movie. But right now, this is more important to me. Speaking to people. Again, being alone for basically 2 months. The conversations are wonderful in your head, but you really want. That's why when I saw what you were doing, I wrote you immediately. Said, you're going to need guests.
Yeah.
I had no idea you'd bring me on first, so I'm very honored. By the way.
Well, yeah, you just said that you were free Sunday morning. I had no slots on Sunday. The first slot I think I have is Monday evening. And so I was just, let's get Peter on. Let's make him the first guest. That makes sense to me. Let's get the big hitter out first. Let's get the one of my close personal celebrity friends on the show to begin with.
Oh,
and
you know what? You can take the word celebrity off of that.
No,
I live close personal friends. Which, by the way, I'm glad we could do it today because Mondays, as a general rule, I don't Skype, I don't Zoom, I don't text a lot. I try and keep that day for me for whatever I want. I'm online all the time, so I'm always on Facebook. But I try and just take the day a little more peaceful.
So Monday is the Spellos Sabbath, then, in its own way,
without making a religious hook to it.
I understand.
It's fat boy time out for 24 hours.
It is. It's good. Unplug everything for 24 hours and just be one with oneself.
I wish, because I never unplug from Facebook because that really is
where all your peeps are.
For me, a creative IV at this point more than anything else. You got to understand, between my Transformers family in England and my indie theatrical family, who I'm moving to give the rest of my life to. That's where I want to be. I love New York, and my brother's here. And aside from cousins in Queens, most of my family's dead, and a couple of my high school friends who I love, I get to see. But my life is elsewhere. So when I can be in conversations there.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part for me, John, is waiting.
Yes.
Not having that apartment yet that I was supposed to sign for.
I know. We felt really bad about that. We wish you were in Indy, and then at least having your family closer, your Indy family closer. And
they're here. I'm online with these wankers all the time now. Okay, it's
good.
It is great. I can't look tonight. 7:00 is our chat. I look forward to it. I have the honey whiskey sitting over there waiting. I have some moonshine that was a present from my dear friend Cara, who I call Supergirl. That's because it's Cara Zor-El. It's a whole story.
No, I understand. I get the reference. So, Peter, without giving away all your tricks, and secrets. What are the kind of key rules or guidelines or words of wisdom from the Peter Spellos School of Improv that you can share with us? I mean, I think everyone knows the kind of just say yes or whatever that technique is called. But do you have your own magic Spellos things that you can tell us?
I'm all the yes and all the basic traits that I learned at the First Amendment Improv Company in New York and with some Second City teachers. That's where I'm from. The best idea is going to come from your partner. So instead of what do I got to do to be funny, putting all this pressure, it's about listening, which is really, boys and girls, cats and kittens, the key to life. It's not about what we're doing. It's about listening to what's going on. So that, and I tell them that building a scene is like playing Mr. Potato Head. It's a blank potato. I get to put on just one thing. I get to put on a hat. I give it to you. You get to put on an eye. You give it back to me. Now I put it on the ear. So all of a sudden, we've built something together, ensemble. The scene has integrity because it's not like I'm going to put all the eyes and the ears on. You just put the lips on. No. Yes, and I put one thing and you build on the offer. That's the word in improv. It's an offer of information. So that's the way. It's a game of catch and listening. I swear to you, I've worked with comedy partners my whole life since I was 16. I didn't want to be a monologist. I wanted to be a comedian in pairs. Laurel Hardy, Abbott Costello. It's in the listening that it occurs. And understanding the scene more than anything else. Seeing people talk to me, how do you know timing? It's like the wind. You know it when it hits you. You can kind of see it. And if, especially with young students, if they just stop trying to be funny. Here's the thing that one of my dear coaches, Barbara Deutsch, used to say. And it really is one of those moments that is life-changing and clarity-giving for me. He used to say to us, if you're interested, they're interesting. No. Too much caffeine. If you're interested, they're interested. But if you try and be interesting, they ain't interested.
No.
So if you got an actor who is trying to be interesting, he's taking the other person out of the scene because he's trying to be interesting. If the actor is interested in what you're doing and saying, well, now there's integrity. Now it's the joy for me is always in the collaboration, which is why I don't do stand-up, which is why even when I did the hosting for my nightclub and studio warm-up, the joy was always working in partnerships, which is why it was, that and improv, because you build it. I'm a director. See, my life is, I've directed plays for 30 years too. I don't want to be the delicious piece of food. I want to be the chef who gets to play. And this is what indie is to me. I have incredible ingredients. I just have to cook, and know what each tastes like. And that's what it is from my end. And not try and impose, not try and make a chicken taste like a sausage.
No. Well, we just watched Wrath of Khan the other night. I have a Star Trek rewatch group, and we're rewatching a lot of Star Trek stuff. And in it, Dr. Carol Marcus takes a look at the
can I cook?
Yeah, and that's what it made me think of, Peter. You are the Carol Marcus of Indiana comedy.
One thing, if Martin Jones is listening, I told him at a party I threw for all my students years ago, and I looked at him and I went, "Can I cook? Or can I cook?" And by the way, that movie I love because of the Kobayashi Maru. I am Kirk. If there's an impossible situation, I change the experiment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just rewire or reroute the experiment so that he can win it.
Which is what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't get there.
We figure it out. We make it work. We've had a couple of people join the chat. Martin Jones is listening. He just let me know.
Jonesy, I love you.
Gary Hill, my good friend, has joined. Gary Hill is the one who purchased the ukulele to which I serenaded my love on her wedding day. And then Andy Lunn, old friend of the After Movie Diner show, has joined, and he says, "This is great. It's like having a couple of mates around, sitting in my garden, having a good old chin wag." You can tell he's from the UK.
You know what, chin? So many words have permeated my language, and chinwag is certainly one of my favorite.
It's fantastic.
Well, we're happy to oblige. I wish I could bring you a Guinness, but you know.
Yeah, sadly we're not allowed, just in case it's chock full of virus or something. But no, it's interesting what you were saying about improv, Pete, because I kind of feel the same way about writing, whether it's sketches or whether it's music, in the sense that you know it when it comes to you. There's entirely a school where you can just sit and like hammer away at a blank piece of paper. And I totally agree with that as well. That's a great way to just at least shake it out, like what you do before an exercise, kind of figure it out, just hammer away and put whatever ideas you want out there. But in I think the real great moments in being a writer, either music or comedy, comes from, oh, wait, I'm feeling this now. Something's hit me. I'm not a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person, but something's flown through the air at me. I've absorbed it, and I've got to get it down on paper. It's just, it can't escape.
It's internal. It's in acting, we talk about, I had an acting coach who said, it's cause and effect. Play the cause, not the effect. You know, you want to get to the emotion of it. Point of view, the same with scene work that I teach. It's about this. It's about how are you feeling? You know, it infuriates my students because they'll do a scene, and the first thing I say is, how you feeling? Don't talk about the scene, because I know how they're feeling. I want to find out if they know how they're feeling, you know, and that's sort of, you don't take that for granted, you know, because when you're in the bubble trying to be funny, trying to show that you're a good actor, you're not being interesting because you're not interested. If you're interested in the girl, then I'm interested.
Yeah.
Then it's like, wow, you were present.
Well, that's the big thing, isn't it? So that when I'm talking about like an idea hitting me or whatever, I'm having to be open to those ideas. I'm having to be present to those ideas. I don't know if I was busy running around with, although some people may say I'm busy running around doing stuff all the time anyway, but I don't know if I was busy running around doing stuff all the time that I would get as many ideas as I feel like I do have. And so that's my thing, is I think if I have any tiny little bit of whatever, it's being able to grab hold when an idea runs past. I might not do it justice, but I at least know when to grab it.
You're so Brit, because that I might not do it justice is so Brit. Every time I do an improv with my company in England, they apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologizing. You know, God damn it, you're so British. Stop apologizing for everything.
No, I have to. It's hardwired into me. And listen, Pete, living over here, I've shaken so much Britishness off. Most of my British friends will tell you. I definitely was. England was too uptight for me. I needed to come to New York and kind of figure that out. But I can't get rid of any form of sort of pomposity or self-worth or whatever, anything like that. It's just, I can't do it. Do it.
It's delicious because it's so refreshing in this brazen fucking country, you know, to hear somebody be, look, I lead with me, you know, if you like it, great. If you don't, it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
But that natural British, it's not just apologetic. It's I'm going to tie it into improv. It's understanding about the group dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Not wanting, on its worst side, it's not wanting to make waves, because it's exactly what I want you to do is make waves. But you get a sense of, all right, everybody calm down. You know, there's that, which is why your comedy is so madcap.
It's the line down the middle of, I'm utterly afraid to be myself, and I cannot help but be myself with both barrels. And that's where I live in that bit where I'm like, I'm me, take it or leave it. Like, I'm sorry, ain't gonna change. It is what it is. You get what you get, etc., etc. But then there's like that insecurity or whatever, I guess.
It's some of the most glorious and funny people I know are in England, because it's that they're sitting in, they're pushing a beach ball underwater and they can't hold it down. It has to explode out. And it's that explode. I have a friend that you might not be listening that we actually call the late James Rose, because in improv, they kept killing him. And whatever he was doing, for whatever reason, they kept killing him. So now even the group, we all refer to him as, it's the late James Rose. You know,
or Sean Bean, if you want a British reference.
Right. But and the other thing about you Brits that I fucking love, when I first started doing improv with you guys, first of all, I can close my eyes and it sounds like I'm teaching a Monty Python troupe, which makes me very happy. But like Americans bang on, the North bangs on the South, and all that kind of thing. You guys are still banging on the French and the Germans, okay? and it's
we haven't gotten over our arrogant xenophobia. How dare you?
Well, half, 3/4 of the youth have no idea that Germany almost bombed London out of existence,
right?
And the French, were drinking wine while all that was going on. So, but in comedy-wise, if you watch the Germans episode, of Faulty Towers, you guys are still banging on the French and the Germans. And even my improv kids, absolutely. Scenes would be about banging on the French and the Germans. And I'd weep because it's being exposed to the comedy that influenced me so much, and the type of comedy that I believe we don't have in America.
Well, it's funny because I find it much harder. I definitely grew up in that England, right? The England of Monty Python and Blackadder and Not the 9 O'Clock News and Fry and Laurie and all that stuff.
Oh my God,
Dad's Army and all that stuff. And I've been a fan of comedy, both sides of the Atlantic and other places, since I was old enough to walk. It's been the thing that I had books on it and listened to albums, and yeah. So I think what's very difficult is that as I've got older and I've wrestled more and more with my country, not to get like super personal, but like just wrestle with the idea of my country. It's been very difficult to find those pockets of that kind of Britishness that isn't then over on the side of, like I said jokingly, that kind of arrogant xenophobia, which is a strain that kind of exists anyway. That's, and I know that comedy is trying to find those dark corners in order to play that out, but sometimes it can be very difficult to separate the two, because sometimes people use it as an excuse, and that's where I get a little like frustrated.
Which is why I watch the panel shows, because it's as much akin to vaudeville and the English music halls. It's funny. It's bright and funny. There's nothing like that in America. The game shows are about greed and money. But who's QI could be the most brilliant show in television for a dozen years now. Wilty, Would I Lie to You? Mock the Week. It's all sharp, young, clever comedians. I have more of those guys on Instagram, the James A. Casters and the Ed Gambles, that I follow, because they're sharp. Again, tying it back to language. This country is 200 plus years old. You know what? When you walk down the Thames and you see the Eye and you think, oh, that's beautiful. And then you see the Tower of London, which is 1,100 years old. You have a sense of history to draw on. And I really believe in drama and in comedy that makes it different. It's why Americans say Brits are better actors than Americans are. Well, for the most part, they are, because they've been trained in classics. Why is French food so good? Because some guy named Jacques has been doing it for 1,000 hours the same way over and over, and he knows what to do with that egg.
That, Peter, and the butter. The butter. That's the butter. That's the thing. Peter, because we've got some film fans in the group, can we pivot a little bit to your film career? Okay, fantastic. So Gary had a question about Freddys Dead, which you were in. And it may actually be a sad question. So, but did you know about Leslie Dean's real life abuse trauma before working the scene with her. The sketchy face is still nightmare fuel. I know he's talking about improv and high comedy, so sorry for bringing the conversation down. That is from Gary Hill, our good friend.
Gary, I'm going to tell you all about it, and I actually have a happy Leslie Dean story.
Great.
And she's a friend on Facebook, and she's a punk rock singer now. You know, Scary Cherry, and I think she goes by the name. No, I had no idea. They sequestered me, basically, because of this scene. You know, when I got to set, it took 3 guys over 3 hours to put me into makeup for that, you know, for the end of that scene. She wanted nothing to do with me, you know, in the situation. And even the audition, Gary, was frightening for me because you, as an actor, look, I've spent my whole year in comedy, my whole life in comedy. But in Hollywood, I've got murderers, rapists, child abusers. You know, they cast you on your look and size. The audition I did was, for me, was amazing because it was a dark place. There was dead silence afterwards. And Rachel Talalay, who's an amazing director, Tank Girl, a lot of the Doctors Who's with Missy, said to me, she goes, that was amazing. I go, and I really went, I don't know whether to say thank you, you know. And on the set, it was very, very strange. You know, watching her go to town with that coffee pot that's really beating me and me coming up with the no honey for daddy, you know, it's disgusting, you know, and then it turns, my arm turns into Freddie, a fat Freddie arm, because it turns back to him. Years later, cut to years later, cue the music, very daytime music. I'm going to an audition in Hollywood in a building, oddly enough, but it had an elevator, 5 or 6 floors. So I come through the parking lot. I get on the doors closed, opens up on the ground floor. A very attractive blonde woman comes in, just she and I in the elevator. And we're both kind of doing this, looking at each other and smiling. And we're both looking. So I know it's not me. So I finally go, forgive me, I'm not being forward or creepy or anything, but I swear I know you. And she went, I have a feeling. And then she went, oh my God, you're my abusive father. And she screamed, laughed, a big hug, how are you? Like 2 actors. Not like anything still in the movie, of course, but it was like 2 actors remembering that we had a really intense, strange scene together. But she's great. I love her. And having that moment, you know, those are the Hollywood stories for me. Because it's about the connection, John. It was about, you have a job to do, and sometimes the job is, you know, you're not the person in the art moment, you know, but you're an actor. And you're going to another audition, and she's going to another audition. And those were just who we were that day. So to have that scene and that love, and by the way, Gary, true story. You know, not making that up at all. That's the crap I remember, John, is like, you know what? I did have a Hollywood career, you know, all B movies mostly, and I have nothing wrong with that, you know. Jim Wynorski and Fredo Ray allowed me to be fat and funny and cut my teeth, and when I auditioned, well, I didn't audition for Bound. The Wachowski brothers, who oddly enough are now the Wachowski sisters, you know, life kind of really changes, interviewed me for the movie. Didn't audition. They brought me in and said, we know your background in B movies and we think you're terrific. What? You know, it's that John Landis said the same thing to me when I auditioned for Dream On and HBO. In fact, with the Wachowski brothers, I got to say the famous line that you wait for in Hollywood. I went, so boys, tell me about your movie. You know, literally said that. And I wound up being a principal, non-speaking role, but presence, John Bryan's bodyguard in that movie.
Yeah.
And it was lots of fun because of B movies. John Landis. I'm at the audition. He's looking at my resume. He said, Fredo Ray and Jim Wynorski? He says, those are the worst movies in the world. He took a beat and he goes, I love them.
John Landis, you can't make a documentary about films these days without either John Landis or Joe Dante being in them. They are the keeper of like B movies of all time. They'd show up in every documentary.
He was so cool. I mean, I booked the part.
Yeah.
And he says, "You have a copy of that movie?" It was VCR days. I said, "Yeah, I had a copy of Dinosaur Island. I'm on VHS." And I brought it to him on the set, and he watched it during lunchtime, and he screams to me across this room. He says, "Spellos, this is terrible." And I go, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "I love it." I go, "Me too." So he was such a fan of movies, and so that's the Freddy. That's the I kind of.
No, that's good. No, let's keep. I want to keep on the movie tack for a bit. Just to let you know, Gail Tomlinson has joined us in the chat group. She says she's late, but I guess better late than not at all, she says.
She's one of my improvicons from England, right now from London.
Nice. So it's the afternoon there. It's hopefully a sunny Sunday afternoon in dear old Blighty. So welcome, Gail. Lovely to have you. So what's
Blighty.
the?
I love that you said Blighty. I really do. Yeah, people don't know London is Blighty, but it's fabulous.
It's Blighty. That's more inclusive. It brings everything in, I think. So let's talk about, because I know that my friend Eric Kent or Axel K from the Profondo Cinema podcast, who did the big sorority house massacre episode of my show back in the day. We covered all the many strands of that interesting franchise. Tell us all about making Sorority House Massacre 2 and then following it up with Hard to Die and the legend that simply cannot be killed, that is Orville Ketchum. I know I bring it up a lot with you, Peter, but it's the first time that you truly came into my heart in my living room was Orville Ketchum. So
I look back on all that so fondly because it really was my first thing I did in Los Angeles. I'll try and tell a short story, but you know how impossible that is. I got an audition. It was at the old New Horizons office, Roger Corman, in Brentwood. Okay, nice area. I knew Corman and the work, of course, if you knew movies. I walked upstairs, and there was 22 stunning women in the lobby, and me. And I thought, even if I'm in the wrong place, I'm not leaving for a few minutes. It was the right place. I auditioned for Julie Corman, Roger's wife, and Jim Wynorski. And the script was funny. And it was kind of, he said, Ketchum, Orville Ketchum. And all I heard in my mind was Bond, James Bond. And I thought, all right, what am I going to do with this guy? So all of a sudden, because we have our own opinions here in New York about what sounds dumb. So I tried to southern him up just a little bit and a little slow, like he was on some sort of drug, His walk I used to refer to as the Thorazine shuffle. Anyway, I did the audition. I walked in. I said, Bond, Ketchum, Orville Ketchum, like Bond, James Bond. And again, Wynorski looked up and yeah. I said, good. I did the scene. I did Orville. He's downstairs with his tools. That's the line I remember in the kitchen with the girls.
Yes. I was just watching the scene last night, Pete. It's especially when, if you're going to be living here, you're going to be needing this. And then you reach down into your pants and pull out the keys.
So I'm leading into the next story about Jimmy and I in comedy.
Okay. Yes, of course.
We shot, it was guerrilla movie making. It was what we used to, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, it was second meal walking, okay? You were eating pizza as you were going to the set because you're working 14, 15, 16 hours. It was a cold night. It was in Venice. It was that beach cold, hot in the day and cold at night. This was open. It was Corman's old facility on Venice. It was late. It wasn't gelling. Something happened. And Jim lays into this poor grip. I mean, reads him the riot act, chews out numerous assholes, reading, bang, 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 and then dead silence. And I did this. I went. I said, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Wynorski. The Jim Wynorski dancers will be right out. And that's if you're listening, that's where that originated. And Wynorski spun around and looked at me, smiled. And that was the beginning of, oh, he's a fucking wise guy, being me, and funny. it broke the ice on the set. Believe me, it was a moment where everybody was, "Who's the fat guy?" You know. Then Jim and I at lunch, and we found that we both grew up in New York. We both were the same age, so we both knew that Abbott and Costello was on Sunday mornings at 11:30, and the Honeymooners were on, and Claude Kirshner and Clowney did the horror movies, and there was a common ground to our childhood, about the same age, and that began. Doing the film was amazing. We did it in like 6.5 days. It was guerrilla filmmaking. The girls are great. Gail's went on to a writing career. Melissa is in Kentucky. She's her family was in the horse farm business. She's a dressage writer. She's an amazing woman.
I met her when she did Samurai Cop 2 because it came to the what used to be, sadly no longer, the old Sunshine down on Houston. And the Samurai Cop 2 played the midnight screening, and Melissa was obviously in the first one and then came back for the sequel. So
she has a huge heart. She's a stunning woman. She just and did her movies and then went back home. I mean, when I moved to India, I hope to see her in Kentucky. That's kind of one of the things.
So just to keep you up with who's joined, Peter, of your fan group and friend group, we've got Ruth Beckett from England as well. She says, "Nice to see you, big bro," she says. Ronnie Kenner, who we're going to have music from later, he says, "Orville Ketchum will never die." We've got Dean Cooney, says, "No better place I'd rather be than listening to my RoboShark grandpa." So that is a reference to Skybite, which we can also talk about. And then Anne K, is it Clothier or Clothier? I'm not sure.
Right, Clothier, I think.
Clothier, okay. She says she is listening in from England as well. And Les Eller says he remembers that line that you said earlier from Sorority House.
Hi, guys. It's my other family.
So everyone's joining in. This is fantastic. We've got some great viewers and some great stories. So yeah, we've covering just a little bit of everything, a little bit of what Pete's been up to.
Let me say one more, Johnny. Let me say one more thing about the B movies.
Please do. I want
because to keep of Jim. He introduced me to Fredo Ray, and I remember. Wasn't an audition, wasn't even an interview. He just wanted to meet me at Fred's old house, and Fred and I hit it off exactly like Jim. In fact, I wound up doing more pictures for Fred than Jimmy. I think it's 20 to 16 that I wound up doing for Fred. And just another guy with a huge heart who was doing exactly what he loved, which is why I love those guys.
Oh, Pete, I've got to show you something. Keep talking, but I've got to show you something.
Keep talking. My friends in England know that is not going to be a hard thing at all.
No, I wanted to bring up because we're talking about your B movies and you're talking about a Fredo Ray movie. As you know, we have a mutual friend in George Stover, the wonderful legend of Baltimore.
Attack of the 60-Foot Woman.
Yeah, you were in Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold together. You are right. Fred obviously got to know George because he put out Alien Factor on DVD,
right?
The Don Dola movie. And pulled George out to, I believe, the only time George has been in a film in California, which is the Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold. For whatever reason known only to Fredo Ray, baseball cards or collecting cards were made for the Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold. And George gave me a pack, so I have it right here.
I have my cards with me with the giant rat.
There you are. There we go, like that. Look at that right there.
You know,
how about that, Peter, that I can pull that out of my ass?
Because of those boys, I have trading cards. Do you know what I mean?
I know, right? Look at that right there.
When I die, John,
there's George.
There's George. Hi, George. you know what's going to say in a small newspaper somewhere? B-movie veteran Peter Spellos died today. Yeah. And you know what? I would happily be that forever. The friends I made there, it was sort of like, I tell you what it was like, John. It was like a theater company. Same tech people, same lighting people. It was the family that did films together. And everybody ate with everybody. The actors didn't eat over here. The crew, everybody ate with everybody. Everybody was friends. And it was the closest thing, because I'm from theater, that gave me that sense of, we were the mighty Carson Art players. We Fred would call me in and Jimmy too, just to be funny and stupid, and they knew that I would come in. And so I'm the band, John Goodman, what was the movie? Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia.
That's why I have this bandolero of rat traps and a dangly earring and a cigar, because Fred and I, when the martini shot comes, it's cigars and martinis, at the end of the day. So great memories of that movie. Of course, not only J.J. North, but my first and only screen kiss ever, Michelle Bauer, is what a wonderful person. And she was in that movie too. And again, I don't remember not thinking, oh, that was a great time. Because they were all great times. Another person I want to just throw out there is Richard Gabai. Richard is another great filmmaker that I met. He was Schemer in Dinosaur Island, and then Richard went and cast me in a few movies. He's also a great rock and roll guitarist, and of course, not as friendly personally, but certainly friends with the great Gary Graver, who was the DP on so many of those movies, and actually did a movie, for Gary in Vegas. Who knows what they're called anymore? They have so many different titles. Something roulette, sexual roulette. And obviously, I was neither the sexual nor the roulette in that movie. I think I played a mob guy. What a surprise,
Nice. Nice.
But I did 35 movies, 36, 37. I've lost count with those boys.
Yeah. So, no, you look at your resume on IMDb, and it's mightily impressive. I always think that while a lot of people are always trying to achieve the fame or the adoration of maybe an A-lister, I would when I look at like your career, or I look at George Stover's career, or I look at something like that, if in another life I was an actor, that would be the kind of career that I would aspire to be, because think of all the places you've been, the stories you have, the people you've met. It's way better than sitting in a trailer, or what I presume is people sitting in a trailer for hours on end, not talking to anyone.
It's, I have a dear friend, Jen Smith, and who's a terrific author, and she's wants to do my biography, wants to do the stories, and I've kind of worked on it over the last year or so with ideas. But the title I've come up with right now, the working title, is I'm that guy in those movies.
Yeah,
because you don't know my name usually. But here's the story. I'm at Universal Studios because I was teaching the staff. I was doing an improv in acting class. And I'm having a smoke back in the days when I was smoking. And I see a security guard walking towards me. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Better take a couple of hits. And he's walking towards me. He's wagging the finger, too. Wagging the finger is never a good thing. So it's like, nah, fuck me. I got to step it out here, put it in good. He goes, hey. I go, yeah. He says, you're the guy. I said, excuse me? He says, you're the guy. I go, he says, you're the guy in those movies with those girls. I went, yeah. He said, I knew you were the guy in those movies. And he walked away. And I walked upstairs to teach the class. And the first thing I said to them is, I don't know if you know this, but I'm the guy in those movies, and I hope one day that you're the guy in those movies. So that's where, thank you, Jim Wynorski, Fredo Ray, Rich Gabai, Gary Graver, Gail Thackeray, Melissa Moore, all the great, Ted Tunney, Susie Tunney. Now we got to go to the tech crew too if we're going to do this. Great people. Tim Abel. Theater, except in film. A theater, a family. Fabulous. He's just fabulous stuff.
So just to cap it off then, let's talk about Skybite. How did Skybite come to you? And just for people who are not Transformers literate, just sort of explain your character. I was actually looking at the Transformer wiki the other night to try and get a handle on who Skybite is. But you in your own words, sir.
Well, especially sir threw me. But you are British. I love that. The American version of Transformers RID, which was about 2000, I think we recorded, was what they call acquired animation. So it was originally in Japanese. and you would get it, and we would then dub the episodes. That's the way animation works. Either you're in a room with all the other actors, and they animate to the voice, or if it's a quiet animation, you loop with a TV, sit in the chair like this, and you match what we're doing in there. What was the question?
Oh no, just how did Skybite come to you, and then what has Skybite meant to you? It feels
James
like
Simone, a guy had been working. I'd fallen into the voiceover industry with these guys and was working. The first two things I auditioned for, I booked series. So again, it was who the fuck is this guy? Jamie Simone, who was always great, who always bring me in, and I booked Skybite. Now, Transformers movie came out in '84, so I'm already 30. So my understanding of the Transformers is just, trucks that turn into robots. Cool. I understand, what they are. I did not understand the size of the community. So we did the episodes. I love Skybite. He's a shark. He turns into a robotic shark. He's the leader of the Predacons, but he's sort of the comedy leader. He wants to do evil, and he keeps winding up doing good. He's Dennis Farina. Hey, more on number one. Talk to more on number two over here. He's that guy in the movies, but in robot terms. Now, when I did the voice, because it's really tweaked with all the electrics, all the great engineers that we had for these projects. So I thought somewhere between Tom Waits and Dr. Smith is where I would go with the voice. But, the voiceover community really, really small. So I knew these guys and girls. We played poker together. You would get together socially. So as the episodes and me in the booth, they allowed me to get more and more insane. So the script would come back, and he would really be over the top. And I have no problem swinging at that pitch.
No, of course. So did you? In terms of the script, is any of it improv, or is it all written down and then they wrote to your strengths as it went on?
They wrote to my strengths. It was all written, and because you got to match lip movement, you got to match. It's all written, except for the last scene on the last page. And I got to it in the booth, and it said Skybite sings, and I said, "There's nothing written here," and they went, "Yup." And I went, "Turn on the mic." And I just went, "Who's the greatest shark in town? Who's the greatest shark around? Skybite, that's me!" And they make me sing it at conventions. And I couldn't be happier. So 2013, I got a call from Auto Assembly, from Simon Plum, who was running it at that time, wanted me to come to a Transformers convention in England. I turned him down because I was only a year and a half in recovery from the prescription painkiller fiasco that many people know about 8-10 years ago. Called me the following year. 2 years later, I'm starting to feel like me. Said, absolutely, because they were going to pay me lovely and put me up and fly me and hotel and meals. And sure. John, first of all, that began the romance with your country and the people. And the people, Amsterdam and all the other places that are around Europe. I had no clue that community so not only loved Transformers and robots. Seeing a 12-year-old playing with a 60-year-old with robot toys in the bar is the greatest thing in the world. But that it was so tight-knit, and they knew who I was and was appreciative of what I had done. But I'm telling you, obscure movie posters, the Guyver, Freddys Dead, stuff I had done for autographs. And I was, as you folks say, gobsmacked by that love. Now, that was again, I fell in love with everybody and everything British again. I had been there once on my honeymoon in 1987. The following year was going to be the last year that Simon and Auto Assembly was going to be, and they were turning it over to TF Nation, another fabulous group, people who grew out of that. They wanted me there, the fans. They don't bring back the same guest every year. That's insane. So Jamie Harris, if he's listening, and there was other people involved. I can't remember names. I apologize. I'm fucking old now. Crowdfunded me to get me to England to be at that thing. And I had never seen such love in my life. They paid for the airfare. They paid for a limousine from London to Birmingham and a limo back from Birmingham to London. The owner of the event said, don't worry, I saved the room, and can I give you $1,000? I didn't expect any of that, you know? So if I needed to fall in love with England and Transformers any more than that.
Well, I'm glad you had such a good experience. I feel like it, when I first reached out to you to interview you for the After Movie Diner, I feel like my fellow country folk had kind of paved the way for me, so that you were like, okay, at least this is another Brit. I know what I'm dealing with here. So
one more thing, John, by the way, that I started then teaching twice a year in England, because I went to the guys and said, would you like me to come over here? And so that's how the Improvicons were born. And I went to Billy Edwards, who is the head of just a genius of heart and man, was the head of TF Nation. And I looked at him one year and I said, you know, you want us to perform there? We're there. The following year, he came out on an October and said, I knew it. You know, he showed up in London because he's from Liverpool. And I thought, what are you doing here when I'm here, Billy? And we handshook to perform at TF Nation. That was last summer, that I stood on stage with civilians. We were meeting twice a year for 3 years, John. And we got this gang up on stage to perform. So when I tell you that I am blessed beyond measure with, I don't want to say that people that love me, because from my end, it's people that I love, people who have influenced my life, people that I adore, you and Kimberly among them, you know, that I'm really grateful at 66. And the saddest thing for me about the virus is that I'm not going to get these months back in isolation. You know, people 20 going to.
We seem to have lost Peter. Not sure what happened there. His camera just cut out. Let me see if I can get him back. 1 second. But while we're trying to get him back, let us listen to a song by Ronnie Kenner. This is a solo project in No Mix. I don't know how to pronounce that. I know No Mix. I'm not sure. Which is off the album A Moonlight Setting. Dreamer is the name of the song, and you can find it at Inonomix, which is INONOMIX.bandcamp.com, if you like what you're about to hear. So let's do that. Let's get the music playing now, and then we'll try and get Pete back on the show. Just 1 second to wrap it out. So here is the music by Ronnie Kenner. He's in the chat group. So here we go. Hope you like this. I didn't put audio. Sorry, 1 second. I'm so sorry about this. This has all thrown me. Let's make sure that we're sharing the audio. Here we go. All right. I don't know if you're hearing that or not. You should be hearing that. I'm not sure why you're not. Okay. So I think something is going wrong with the broadcast. Could someone let me know if in the chat room that people can still see me? Can people still see me? Oh, and Eric can hear the music. Okay. Great. I'll just play the music then. I can't hear it for whatever reason, but hopefully everyone else can. And then I will get Pete back on.
bitten, feeling my prescription. Alone he's driven, insane now. You are broken as the world starts choking, falling further from your soul.
So thank you very much, Ronnie Kenner, for sending in that song. Just to let you know, if you're in an indie band or if you write songs solo or whatever you do and you want to get them featured on Crosstalk, please do send me links on Facebook or on our website, which is crosstalkshow.com. You can hit me up on After Movie Diner. Anywhere you can find me online, please do send me your music and we would love to feature it here on Crosstalk. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined us. I'm going to pull Peter back in for the last few minutes just to say thank you very much to him. But I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been watching and everyone who's been listening. It's absolutely fantastic. It really means a lot for this inaugural episode. And I do hope you'll tune in again on future episodes. So I'm pulling Peter back in now and let's get him back on the screen where he belongs. Thank you ever so much again to Ronnie Kenner for that music. Peter, did you enjoy that song, sir?
Oh, absolutely. And I wrote down the inomics. I can't.
Yeah, I couldn't either, but don't worry about it.
And, I'm not surprised that every once in a while the comedy gods go, you know what, he's talking too much, and they knocked me out. I have no reason why it bumped me out. But we're back. John, you're great. Anytime you want me back down the line, I'd love to continue our conversations. Hopefully one day again over eggs and an omelet and hot sauce on the omelet and, disco fries and something that, Kimberly can join and we can all have breakfast together. No, we have to have another Brit meal. We have to go down back to the Churchill again. That's really...
Well, Peter, the one place I want to take you is Tea and Sympathy. That's the one place we haven't been together, yes.
Right. For high tea?
Yes, for high tea. I want to take you for sandwiches with the crust cut off and some little bit of Victoria sponge cake with custard. That's what I want to do. And lots of Yorkshire Gold.
First, again, I'm fond of cucumber sandwiches.
Yes.
You can put custard on my shoe and I'll eat it. You folks do custard right over there.
We do. Bird's custard only as well. It's like Bisto is the only gravy and Bird's is the only custard.
Do you get the powder custard to make your custard, or do you?
Yes,
make it
powdered or jarred, either powdered or in a can. Either one is fine. Same with Bisto. I get Bisto the powder. It's all good.
It's all we can do right now to remember all the things we love, and then be grateful for where we are now. And when we get back outside, no matter what that's going to look. We'll be together again, in a different way. I don't think we're going to lose this sense of community here online. I think there's going to be a lot of people, John, when the end of this is going to go, you know what? I can do this from home. It's going to be very interesting. And I certainly, as a comic and a writer from my years writing comedy, this is going to be a very interesting time for the playwrights and the comedians, 3-5 years down the line to see. Every time there's something traumatic, the theater takes over. In the 80s, it was a rash of plays about AIDS, and then plays about Hurricane Sandy, and stuff in Beirut and Lebanon, and it's the creative community's job, as the minstrels, as the voice of everybody, to just reflect a mirror on what has gone on hopefully that the reflections will have an upturn, to folks like you. We're getting online and chatting with people and chatting about the things you love and sharing that. And I know you miss going to the movies. I know it's killing you right now.
It is.
You can't go to a movie and then go to a diner afterwards, but
I think I'm missing the diners almost more than the theater. I mean, I love movies, but I can watch movies at home. I'm missing the diners. I'm missing the sopping up the yolk of my egg with a crusty lunch roll.
I found the deli, and you know what? It's your damn fault now that I'm going to call for delivery in a few minutes. It just makes a great egg and bacon and cheese sandwich.
Oh, stop it. Now I have to go make myself one of those. Luckily, I have all the ingredients in my fridge. Another big shout out to your friends and fans online who have been commenting this whole time. Dean Cooney, Gail Tomlinson, Martin Jones, my friend Eric Kent, who's been in the chat, Gary Hill, Ruth Beckett, has joined us. I'm scrolling through this. So many people were saying, thanks, Pete, and we love you, Pete, and stuff like that. You've got a big friends and family here who keep mentioning. Dean Cooney says, I've enjoyed this, Peter. We all needed you today, and keep being you, so we love you.
Dean Cooney, a young Irish lad, actually taught me how to say Ireland correct, because I say it like a fucking New Yorker. I say Ireland. We like vowels here in the country. He said, no, it's Ireland. I went, oh, Ireland. It's all Ireland. And I went, oh, all right. Yeah, Ireland. I start to hear it better. So, Dean, the plan was to come to Ireland. I was supposed to be in Manchester, Liverpool, and perhaps in Ireland this spring. I will be back in the UK. It kind of looks like it's 2021 at this point, but I have so many friends and family there.
Carl Doninger said that if you drop off Popcorn's Tuesday morning stream like you did on this stream, that he won't be letting you back in.
I love you, man. And yeah, I talked about Popcorn earlier. That's where it began. Just briefly, that's where it began for me in Indiana. Is the great folks at Popcorn brought me out years ago, and that turned into a weekend class, and it's turned into 5 workshops a month. It's turned into I want to live with you people for the rest of my life. And
Martin Jones says that you need to stop piggybacking off your neighbor's Wi-Fi.
You know what?
So
Jones, go get me a dozen donuts from Long's, all right? Yeah. Please, and I'll be the one with the bacon and the maple. That's my very favorite. By the way,
now I'm hungry. Now I have to go and eat. But no, this has been, for me personally, for Kim, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for going through this first time show with me, doing Crosstalk. I tested it the other day with my friend Owen, and that was a fantastic show. And now this is the first one that will go out live as a new Crosstalk episode. Haven't done Crosstalk in 6 years, so why not bring it back while we're all in quarantine?
Well, Johnny, we need more folks like you out there that are letting people know that there's things that we love that you don't forget about. Just because we're inside, it don't mean we can't make this connection. And I swear, as soon as we can go out, there's a gin martini in my future with the two of you. There's just no two ways about that.
Definitely. Well, they luckily in the village, they make it easy. All the British things are right next to each other. So we can literally just do a Brit crawl from pies and tea and sandwiches to fish and chips to whatever you want.
You know what? I've become fond of Victoria sponge, but that's
Victoria sponge with custard. Anyway, Peter, thank you so much again. It's been a thrill. We will talk and do this again. Stay safe, stay well to everyone out there, and stay home.